From the beginning. Great. Good morning, guys. Busy day. We have processed 20,073 in-person early voters here at the Board of Elections. Yesterday, it was raining. We thought we'd have like a few people. We had 2,426 people casting their votes. It's been busy. Also, behind the scenes, we've got a lot going on because we mailed out 100,000 absentee ballots, and we're getting all those ballots back. We got 60,000 back so far, so we're in the middle of processing those. And when voters like drop their ballots off in the ballot box, it's not just like, hey, you dropped your ballot off, great, all's good and well, and your ballot's been processed. It takes a number of steps in handling of that ballot in order for you to track your ballot on our webpage or the Secretary of State's. So it takes a couple days for us to turn that around. Do you guys have any questions? I'm just really busy and a lot going on here.
You said 2,400 more yesterday. So what does that give you kind of early in-person voting up to as of at the end of yesterday?
20,073.
Okay. And you still think that I think it was 2016, you had 33,000 total in-person early. But you still have 2 weeks to go. So you think at 2,000 a day, you'll probably go over that number, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I have a question. Does the Montgomery County Board of Elections print and mail its own absentee ballots, or does it use any third-party vendors?
It uses a third-party vendor.
What is the third-party vendor it uses?
Graphic Village.
Okay. Has it had any trouble with Graphic Village getting ballots out on time?
No, in fact, we got ballots. They mailed the ballots out on the first day they could, and we got them back, a lot of them back the next day. So no, we weren't like some of the other counties, unfortunately. I would hate to be a county where they had a lot of problems with their vendor. We've always had really good relationships and long-standing relationships with our vendors, which helps out, obviously, in situations like this. We are in close contact with them, mostly on a daily basis.
And go ahead. I'm sorry, Jordan.
It was on another subject. Do you have another question on that? Yeah,
on the mail-in ballots, like how so far, Jan, how many then have you had requested, and about how many have come back so far?
We've had 60,000 come back so far, and we've had 124,201 requested. We haven't mailed all those out yet, but we've got a good percentage of them back already. And the reason we haven't mailed them all yet is because we have another drop date, and we'll drop another chunk, I think on, what's today? Probably today. I think today is another drop day.
And Jan, talk about the fact that you want anyone that's going to request one needs to do it, I think, within the next week. Is that right?
Yeah, I said the Secretary of State is advising by October 27th to do it. But if you're not going to, like, what I'd like viewers, if you're not going to use your absentee ballot, don't request it and have us send it to you and then come in here to vote or go to your polls to vote. It just causes a lot of double work for us, for you, and some confusion. And if you do go to the polls and you have requested an absentee ballot, you will be required to vote a provisional ballot at your polling location on Election Day.
Jan, we know that you're encouraging people to include their contact information in case there are any errors, birth dates, or signatures, etc.
Right.
Has that process started for people who have incorrectly filled out some information? Has the reverse contact started yet?
Absolutely.
And what's that like? What are those just common conversations over the phone? Is there a detailed process? What is that nature?
They're both. They're common conversations. Hey, hi, Adam, you forgot to put, your last four of your social. Can you give that to me? Or leave a message on Adam's machine. We have a 24/7 answering machine. We return all our calls within 24 hours, and we're open till 8 o'clock at night to get those calls back. Somebody may call and say, hey, somebody called me about my social security number, that our staff will take that information down. And if that doesn't work, then we send an 11S, which is a written form for them to check and fill in the correct information on that form so we can process that ballot.
Any ballots that are disqualifying at this point? Any that can't be salvaged that you've seen? What are some of those mistakes?
I haven't looked for any, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do people fill out those mail-in ballots with pen, pencil? How is that done?
A black pen.
Black pen, okay.
That's what is the vendor recommends, because the scanner can't read colored ink. It can't read like smiley faces. It can't read little stickets, or things like that.
One of the things you talked about last week, Jan, was poll workers and getting in touch with people who had applied. What's an update on that?
We have sent out emails, a blast email and letters to all the people that we had on file who have contacted us and hadn't heard from us.
I was going to ask about, go ahead.
Because we want them to know we were really honored that many people had offered their services to us, and we felt really bad that we couldn't get back to everybody, and we wanted to know how important they were, but it was also a time crunch for us to have to compile that database and then get the letters out to them as well. But we want to, shout out to everybody that tried to reach us and couldn't. Thank you. We will, if we hadn't gotten back to you already, we will, and we're going to put your name in the database so we can reach out to you again when we need you in May.
Since the Dayton Daily News reported on it in late September, the state poll worker tracker actually shows the number of poll workers. Some of those numbers have decreased in Montgomery County since we last reported on it. Do you know what that can be attributed to, why those numbers actually went down? Were those more finalized at this point?
On the Republican side of the aisle, we had some cancellations. We had some cancellations, and they're back up again. That's a fluid number on a daily basis.
So do you still need at least 118 Republican poll workers minimum to open the polls?
No.
Okay. So that number on those numbers on the state website aren't 100% up to date right now?
Correct.
Yo.
Okay.
Well, what are we using for the guided access mode? Is it still
What was that?
55825?
No, just 1 second.
Jordan, if those numbers on
I'll
the
email it to
secretary,
you.
I think somebody's accidentally on the phone.
Jordan, the numbers on the Secretary of State's website are 1.5 more than what we actually need, 50% more than what we actually need to open the polls. And that's been kind of the confusion with the public and with the press, and actually with us in the beginning. He's asked us to recruit 50% more people than we actually really need to open the polls. So as far as your question, we've got enough people to open the polls, and that's a great thing. Sometimes we don't, this 2 weeks out. So we've got enough people to open the polls, and now we're working on getting that third person there.
I understand that, but on the website right now, it says minimum Republican poll workers needed 720, and then Republican poll workers currently committed 602. So that is less.
It says 720, Jordan, and then 602.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that number has changed. We have enough. We have
40 registration cards.
Okay. Thank you.
Last 3 effing days to do sweeps, double check drawers, double check
Oh,
every year, every time. No matter what you say to them, everybody knows everything. I know.
I know.
But-
Make a mistake.
But then they
oh
don't.
my.
He left his phone line open.
Yeah, geez.
Everybody knows everything. Why is things get messed up?
Steve Harrison, you are on the press call. Steve Harrison, you are on the press call. I hope he hung up.
I have a feeling if he heard that, he probably did. So, okay, Jen, I was going to go back a little bit to.
Sorry.
That's all right. I was going to go back a little bit to the mail-in ballots. So there are a certain number of people around the county, especially with people in nursing homes and through COVID that have power of attorney for their loved one in a nursing home, do they then help that person cast mail-in ballots as well? I mean, how does that work? I mean, what is kind of legal and what isn't legal about doing that?
They have to have a document filed with the Board of Elections that gives them the authority to sign for their parents. And we have those documents here.
Okay, so so anyone that's in that situation basically either finds that document online or needs to come into the office to sign up for that, to have that ability?
It's online. They can get it right online.
Do you know, I mean, just approximate numbers, not exact, how many people are in that situation in Montgomery County?
Just a handful, under
Okay.
10.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And based on how early voting's gone with wait times, number of machines available, et cetera, what are your expectations for Election Day 2 weeks out for in-person voting?
Well, you know what? I think we're not going to be as busy as we thought based on how many people have already voted and how many absentee ballots that have come back. So there probably will be some wait times, just like there have been here for early in-person voting because of the social distancing. It will look like there's lines because people will be, 6 foot apart. And just like any, regular, if there is such thing as a regular any more these days, presidential election. We hope there's not, but again, our goal is to get every person that's in line by 7:30 voted.
If you have 124,000 mail-in ballots requested, you're right at a third of voters. So, I mean, you may, at the max, then you would only have 2/3 of voters going to the polls on Election Day.
If that.
Yeah. How many, as of 2020, as of right now, how many precinct locations do you have across Montgomery County?
We have 143 polling locations that contain 360 precincts.
Okay, so I apologize. I meant the 143, so thank you. And how many precincts are included in that 143?
360.
All right. So some have 2 or even 3 precincts in one location.
Or 4 or 5. We have 1 5 precinct and 1 5 precinct and 1 6 precinct location. Yeah.
And then others just have the 1 precinct at their location.
Right.
Okay.
It's funny because, last year we were trying to consolidate as many precincts as we could into a location. And now this year, that's not such a good thing because of the COVID. So you got to be ready to kind of hit the ball and know what's in your court at the time. And we've certainly had a lot of different balls in our court this year.
The only other question I have for you today is, I don't know if you've seen, but there's popping up kind of across Montgomery County are these signs for these election protection signs. I think it's an independent group that is saying, give us a call if you experience any problems voting. What does the Board of Elections have any position on those type of groups?
Oftentimes we've handled the situation by the time they call us to see what was going on. And I'm familiar with them, and they have a job that they get paid to do.
What about electioneering, Jan? Any issues with people protesting, signs, wearing clothing, anything like that?
We've had the usual handful of things. The people in the garage, they always fight for the best spot where they think they can, reach the most voters. And, we have to push them back, especially with the 6 foot distancing. And, there have been just a handful of people that have had campaign material on, whether it be a hat or a shirt, that we've asked them to either, turn inside out or take off. Hopefully they've had something on underneath it. Mr. Campbell, I think you're familiar with that.
Yes, I am. That was of interest, yes.
Did a significant number of polling locations need to be moved this year for reasons relating to COVID, like maybe out of an older community?
Yeah, Jordan, good question. We had to relocate 10 because they were in assisted living or older, senior citizen centers. And we did that during the presidential primary